Yo, 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 what is going on, RoK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are back again, going to be diving into the jumper community realm today. I came across a very bold statement that was made by a good friend of mine, Miss Raya, who runs the jumper community Discord. And there was something that was posted there, which I had reached out and asked if I could get permission to talk about, because I thought that it was very good that there was a level of directness that had came out from the post, which I, for the most part, pretty much wholeheartedly agree with. And I wanted to talk about it because I think it's something that if you've ever jumped before, if you've ever made a new account before, and even if you've been a part of a group before, you understand this and how these things work, especially for those of you that have played in one for at least a decent amount of time. So before we show you what was written, we get into that, break it down, give you our thoughts. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. And of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to move over now. And let's see here. I do have the right one. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to read here top down is Ryan's of saying, sorry to be so blunt and harsh, but if you're creating more than 2 projects in the same year and both have failed, can you stop? Exclamation point was used, so it's pretty direct. Honestly, if it didn't work out the first 2 times, I hate to discourage you, but give it a break. We as the admins, which is the management team for the Discord server, constantly see the same R5s coming and going, a lot of whom actually give us so much stress and trouble. We have noticed multiple projects failing are being led by the same R5 teams. Now remember, this is plural, so it's not singular, right? They're not saying one R5, they're saying basically by the same team of leaders, right, which we would imagine is 2 or more. Please stop wasting people's time and money all because you're eager to lead inside the game. We'll touch on that in a moment. Do yourself and everyone a favor and join a project as a member to learn how to lead properly, or learn from other people's mistakes and strengths so that you can better improve yourself and prepare to lead. Learn the basics. Stop expecting us to continuously support you in your 10 failed projects. Thank you. Oh, gosh. Just the, I gotta love my girl there. She is very blunt. Actually reminds me of my lady. Just in the directness of it all. So let's break this down a little bit, right? And let me preface this by saying, because I'm always one of the first and most important public speakers of this, which is that even in my situation, right, I've ran 8 projects across 2 games, and every single one of my projects has always had the highest percentage chances to be successful. They've all had the opportunity to establish a Zone 1 foundational presence and control, just from managing the kingdom from that early onset, which basically means that all of my projects have been able to have a kind of grasp, if you will, kind of a managing presence or a majority presence in each of the kind of starting zones or starting areas of a kingdom, which basically is the foundational portion of a kingdom, because every single player in a kingdom builder's kingdom or server is going to get populated within that initial starting zone, zone 1, whatever it may go by. And then that typically allows for you to build those pillars on top of that foundation once it's established. So that's always been the case for every project I've had. And all of my projects, whether I continued on with them or not, went on to have varying levels of success, despite one for pretty much for the most part. And so there's reasons, right? There's kind of the secret sauce on how you get to that point. And when you're able to do it over and over and over again, right, whether it's for the better or for the worse, or if it's good or bad or indifferent, those are kind of common denominators to look at. So when I look at this post here made by Raya, I think to myself, man, there's just so many people that they'll run a project and then they just run it back the exact same way, right? It's like the definition of insanity. You're just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It doesn't always work that way. You have to have some level of self-awareness and self-reflection to try and grow, right? Look at what your opportunities were during that time across all facets of what you were involved in for that project, right? Whether it's how did we recruit? How did we set expectations? How did we inform and educate the players? How did we manage? How did we structure? How did we communicate? How did we do diplomacy in regions with other alliances, right? Did we kind of shear people? Did we like deter people away? Did we bring them in? Were we inclusive? Were we exclusive? Right? These are all like, how did we manage rewards? Did we just give it to the top players? Did we form mega alliances? Did we not? There's so many things that go into it that you really have to have a good kind of hand on those things. And I can tell you from my experience that oftentimes I've actually had there's project leaders out there that once upon a time were kind of under, I don't know if you want to say under my wing, but some of them were officers and or leaders in previous projects I did, right? So they were able, kind of going to the second part here where you see where I said, do yourself a favor, do yourself everyone a favor, and join a project as a member to learn how to lead or learn from other people's mistakes, strengths, so that you can better yourself, right, and prepare to lead. And essentially, what she's really saying is just go and educate yourself, right? Go and find a project that you think could do a good job, and just look at it and try and grab the good takeaways from it. Sometimes you may even consider spending time in a project. One of the things I pride myself on for any and all projects that I do is that if you are an officer or you're a leader in one of my projects, is that we will actually train you, we'll teach you, we'll educate you, we'll inform you, we'll give you good management skills. So that way, if you ever do decide that you want to go do your own project or migrate or start somewhere else, you will actually learn things while you are with us. And I make it an extreme point to do that. It's one of the reasons why, even if I'm no longer a part of a project that I'm doing, which most of the time, if not every time, isn't really of my own choice, it's kind of more of a situation of me kind of getting pushed or forced out, unfortunately. Just in short, kind of the whole people think the grass is greener on the other side type approach. But the idea is that even if that happens, the people that are still there will be able to have some sense of a road or a route to take because of the foundation I've laid, because of the work that I've put in to establish a good structure, right? Something that can really sustain itself for a period of time. So that's why when I leave, it's not like everything goes to, immediate crapola, so to speak, right? It's really up to those individuals that are now carrying the torch to put forth those things that they've learned from me, along with bringing in what they know, right, and what they can bring to the table. So from here, that's why I find it, kind of hilarious in a lot of ways. That this is something that I feel pretty much the same way that she does about. Where you have people that they'll do a project, it doesn't go well, they'll just re-up it. They're not really doing any takeaways. They're just doing it because, and this is something I thought really kind of comes from a place of wisdom, where it's people are just doing it because they want to lead, right? Whereas she says, creating more, I just had it here and I lost to give a break. Trouble, please don't waste time. Eager to lead. Right, where it says here, please stop wasting people's time and money all because you're eager to lead inside the game, right? It's, you got to kind of walk, you got to crawl before you can walk, right? That old saying. And that's really comes down to, really informing yourself. Like before I ever did a project myself, I joined multiple jumper project discords because I wanted to stay in them for a while. I wanted to learn. I even made an account in some of the projects just so I could see how the process played out, because I wanted to really educate myself, even though I already felt as though I had a really good grasp on it. Instead of immediately starting, I took time to go and learn, to go and watch, to ask questions, to pay attention. These are things that I think, at least maybe for the majority of people, when it comes to this niche group of those that want to lead projects, is kind of a lost art, right? It's, they want to run, they just want to run immediately or hit the ground running. So again, I think good advice here from Brya. I think 100%, spot on. Again, very direct, probably not the way I would personally word it, but I can understand where she's coming from. And again, hopefully some people take it with a grain of salt. Not a grain of salt, but I hope people heed it and really, look at it and read it for what it is, not for maybe how it may come across to some. And I'll say, right, even in my experience, right, if when I did my first project and I went into my second, even now, every single time I go into a new project, right, and obviously the hope is that at least when it comes to kind of per game, that I'm able to kind of just do one project per game and just play that out as long as I can. That's always the intent, right? I don't go in with the idea of, oh, I'm just going to rerun it back. Trust me, I do not like to do multiple projects in games because it takes a lot of work, right? I would rather prepare a project fantastically and then be set up for success, right? However, if there's a time that ever comes where I do run another project, it's because I don't want the last thing I do to kind of be something that I wasn't able to see my personal vision applied to a kingdom. Along with that, you do have to look at what are the opportunities that we could have made or can make to improve, so you can apply those on future projects. Maybe you can be more prepared in this area. Maybe you can communicate ahead of time. Maybe you organize things sooner than you did the time before. Maybe you start discussing things sooner. There will and should always be some level of opportunities, and it's just a matter of recognizing them, not being prideful. You really have to throw away your pride and understand that you have support everywhere. It's not just you, but it's what your leaders bring, it's what your officers bring, it's what your members bring. There is constant support, and it comes from people's desire, right? Their passion, their flame of being motivated and being engaged in your project, even if some people may not have the best approach or delivery on how they're giving you that. As someone who's leading, it's a really important skill to be able to kind of discern between how someone is conveying their message, because it doesn't always mean that because they're using very direct words, or maybe they're being kind of passive aggressive to you, or they're doing it in a way where like they're pointing their finger, or they're coming across as, why wouldn't you have done this? This is clearly a better idea. It's really trying to be kind of neutral. You got to kind of be Switzerland mentally and be able to kind of sift and weed out, filter, if you will, what sometimes people are saying, to try and really get to what they're really saying, right? Kind of, basically filter the fluff out and kind of get to the meat or the core of it. Man, 12 minutes on this one. Intense. Okay. That is it for me. Again, I'd love to hear your guys' comments and feedback here on this one, right? Have you ever been a part of a project that ran it back and just didn't make any improvements, right? They just did the same exact thing. Or you noticed that a project had the same exact leaders, nothing changed at all. There wasn't any kind of self-awareness or recognition on these things, or any kind of opportunities, or publicly stated areas of, hey, this is what we're going to improve, or this is what we're going to do different. I would be very interested to hear that from anyone, right? So again, as always, that's it for me. Let me know in the comments down below. We'll catch you guys later, and until next time.